a lawyer and a financial advisor walk into a bar?
No, then what happens, Dave?
Well, the question is, if you were approached to sell your business, would you?
Oh, good question. I've got an answer for that. That's easy. As long as someone reverses a truckload full of cash up to my front yard and just dumps it all in there, then that bad boy would be sold. I think that's what a lot of people. I think that's what a lot of clients say. They say, if you offer me enough money, absolutely I would. But I think there's a little more to it than that.
Yeah, because to me, it really goes back to, one, why did you start the business in the first place, and are you
Yeah,
really interested in the business? But
yeah,
just because someone offers you a truckload of money,
yeah,
because the other side is that, okay, so you've been running this business and you've been really enjoying it, and it's served its purpose, and you've built assets and you've got a great lifestyle. But if someone says, right, I'm going to buy your business and here's a lot of money, yeah, but what are you
mm.
going to do
Yeah. What are you going
afterwards?
to do now? You mean with your time or with your money or
Well,
both?
both.
I suppose? Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, okay, so you've now no longer have that ability to, go to the office or the factory or whatever the
yeah,
business is, to go off and do some, and it becomes the deal. It's not the money that you're doing it for. It's because it's just the fun of the game. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
go
yeah,
into business because it is fun. You get to
yeah,
deal with people, you get to deal with transactions, you get to
yeah,
negotiate,
yeah,
you look at different stuff, and it's in the end, it's not about the money, because it's like, no, but I've got the money. So
yeah,
just because someone's going to offer you a bucket load of dough,
yeah.
does that really mentally? And if you're married, would your spouse or
Partner
partner
want to
want
see
you at
more of you,
home?
or are you going to get divorced as soon as you sell the business because they're
Yeah.
going to see too much
Oh
of you?
my God.
Yeah, yeah,
What are
that'd
your
be bad.
interests?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think a lot of my clients, their interest is their business. That's
Correct.
their hobby. That's their hobby. It's their passion. It's their life. Not all, but a lot of them. And so if they sold their business, I think they'd be lost. I actually think they might be a bit depressed. It might be an anticlimax. You know what I mean?
I agree. And this
Mm,
is one of the issues. You know, what what would you do?
mm,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
seriously, for a lot of people, they're like, well, I'd play golf.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not 7 days a
The
week.
yeah,
Yeah,
correct. Or,
yeah,
oh, I'll go to the gym, or I'll go for a run, or
yeah, yeah.
I'll catch up with friends. Okay,
Mm,
okay. So the friend issue is an interesting one, because if you're younger, say you're
yeah,
sub 60,
yeah,
as an example, a lot of people sub 60 are still working full time in their own business. So they're like, well, all my good mates are still running their businesses and doing other bits
yeah,
and pieces. Who
yeah,
am I going to go out with? I mean,
yeah.
do I go fishing every second day?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I know personally, like when I look at my own business and selling it, I don't think I would ever sell it. But what I might do is over time be less involved
yep,
over time, and that over time might be over 10, 20 years. You might go, well, I'm going to take a day off a week or whatever, or, take an afternoon here and there or whatever. And then you might, hand over more and more control to other people and so on. But work till you can't work anymore. I mean, I can't see myself not working at all, unless I'm not able to, because
but
I
this
like
is,
work. I
yeah,
find it stimulating.
but this
Mm.
is, yeah, but this is where the discussion, and I suppose the thought process that we have with a lot
Yeah,
of people is, okay, so if you've got that capacity, that you've got the ability, and you've made enough resources, and you realise and you acknowledge the fact that the asset pool that you've got is generating the income that means you choose to go to work, not because you have to, because you kind of want to.
yeah,
But the issue then says, what are the other interests that you might have? And so it might take you 5 to 7 to 10 years to build an interest that's outside of work, or you transition. It might be, I might take
yeah,
every Thursday afternoon off for the first 6 to 12 months, and then it might be every Thursday, the full day, as opposed to a half day, and then it might be, alternating. So then you're really only in 3 days a week and not 4,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
because it is extracting yourself from the
yeah.
business, but also having the confidence that someone else is going to be able to operate the business that gives you the results, but you only get to do the fun stuff that you like to deal with, and
Yeah.
not have to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
all the
yeah,
stuff. You go, oh,
yeah.
do I really need to deal with all that
Yeah,
anymore?
yeah, 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 absolutely. And not feeling like you're a slave to the business, which I think a lot of people do. They feel like they've got to be there every day,
Yep,
because if
yep,
they're not there, everything falls apart. And
yep,
so they're actually, end up, rather than the business working for them, they're kind of working for the business,
yep,
which we've
yep,
talked about before.
yep. And also
Um,
staff turn around and go, oh, but Alex is not in. oh, well, if
Yeah.
he's not in, then,
Yeah.
I'll take my foot off the pedal. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm off. You might be out doing something else that may not be specifically dedicated to the business, but it doesn't mean that you're not thinking people forget, a business owner versus an employee, two different mindsets. A business owner never really switches off, in my view.
Yeah, well, some people, even whether an employee or a business owner, I think some people just have that mindset anyway. Some people are sort of that way inclined. But I know what you mean. You certainly, on Saturday afternoon, you're not not just switched off. You're often thinking about what's on for next week and how can I grow the business and what are my challenges and why that client's really giving me the irrits, or how do I win that case? Yeah, I love all of my clients 100% because they're all awesome.
Yeah. But then the other thing that sits around this is that even if someone comes to approach you, there's a couple of aspects. One, are you ready? Is the business ready to be sold to maximise the return on that investment that you've put in it over that time frame? But also, there's the structures. Is the business structured correctly for an exit? And how are you selling?
Yeah.
Like, are you just selling your business assets? So the company that owns the business, are you selling that, or are you selling the entire business? And depending on where it is and all of those entities, or are you selling the real estate that you may have the business operating on, or are you only selling the operating business and not the land?
Yeah, and a lot of my clients are in that category. They're really de-risking themselves as they get older, and they're going, well, hang on, why am I running this stressful business when I own the land as well, and I could just hand over the stressful bit and just stay as a landlord, and then pass the land on to my children or whatever, and get a good income while I'm retired, and have a good asset to give my children without the stress, and possibly the technical nous that you might need to run the operating business.
Correct.
But I'm glad you brought up the accounting stuff, the structuring stuff. That's really important, and I think a lot of people don't think about it at all. But if you're in a trading trust, the tax implications of a sale of a small business are different than if you're in a company. And if you're in a sole trader, they're different again than if you're. So you've got to be in the right structure depending on the type of sale it is, and depending on the whether certain tax exemptions apply to your type of business and so on. So you've got to get the right advice to be in the right entity, because that could make a huge, it could mean that some of a good deal of the income from the sale is tax free, which makes a huge difference if you're selling.
Well, it also goes back to when was the business? I mean, so the topic that we're talking about today, if you were approached to sell your business, would you? And it's a really interesting one, and people are starting to come to that. They're reassessing their lives and a whole range of reasons. But also, if there's an asset that's pre-85, so September 85, which is CSG excluded. So what happens with that? Like, how do you deal with that? How do you prepare to lead into that? So even if someone turns around and says, great, because you've got to then work your way through what's the net effect? Like, what's the net proceeds that I'm going to receive, having paid, taxes and everything else along the way? So what may have been a very good headline number that someone's offered you, the net proceeds that hit your bank account after tax and everything else has been paid may not be to the level that you go, well, why would I do that? Am I not organised to do that? Or why would I not keep the business?
And keep earning the dividend.
The margin that I'm getting on this business is unbelievable. Maybe I need to step back, reassess the way that I'm correct. How am I running the business? Or if one person has looked at my business in the marketplace, wow, is there anyone else out there that might be interested? So therefore I can start to put a bit of competitive tension.
And then there's 2 truckloads worth of cash in the front yard instead of one.
The one truckload might have to be a little bit larger.
Right.
But also, what's your exit? Is it an outright sale and you're gone? Is it a cash sale? Is it a sale that is some shares in the business that may be purchasing you with some cash? Is there an earn-out period? Do you need to continue working in the business for a period of time to deal with the trend? Like, the whole range of scenarios that are available to people, it all sounds wonderful. Oh, if someone offered to buy my business, absolutely, I'd just sell and walk away. Well, hang on. The deal might be that you actually need to be there for another 3 years.
Can I tell you
don't
about
have control.
Yeah, earnouts are a nightmare. Like that's where you stay in the business and you earn the purchase price over a
Yep, yep,
period
yep.
for by performing in the business, and that's particularly common in professional services type businesses like ours.
Yep.
And I see lawyers do it. They sell their business into a bigger law firm. A small law firm might sell into a bigger law firm, which has all sorts of benefits. But then the lawyer who's been running the business for many years. And who's been doing their own thing for many years, suddenly has a whole bunch of bosses, on the board or in the partnership meeting or whatever, and they do not like that.
What do you
And
mean you're
they
playing golf
think they're
on
ready.
Wednesday?
Yeah, and they got their truckload of cash in the front yard, so they're happy. And they
Yep.
think, oh, well, I've been paid, so I'm happy. But then there's all sorts of tension. It happens not just in law firms, in all sorts of businesses. We see earnouts quite frequently where the main owner needs to stay and work in the business, and the new owner wants to make changes to the business, which is understandable.
Yep.
And the old owner does not like that. So,
Which is a really interesting one, because then you come back to the original owner's mindset.
yeah,
So, we like to talk to people about their money mindset, their asset, and their intergenerational. And so
right.
when you look at that, that's what's occurring in your business. What is your money mindset that sits within your business? Like, I've got control of it. How do I want to deal with it if I exit it? What does that mean? What are the requirements? But it also may change your asset, because all of a sudden the asset is not an operating business that you have control and function over. Your asset has now changed from being that operating business to, say, cash.
Yeah, I see.
So
what you mean.
therefore, where are you investing that money to generate the same margin that you could have when you were running expenses and doing different things in your own asset, being the operating business, which then cascades across to, okay, well, I've had an operating business, but did anyone in my family want to be involved in the business to go forward? Or if I sell it, what am I then going to do leading down to children potentially? How do I cascade my way through that? So even if someone says, I want to sell, there's a range of things to assess that puts you into that position that says, oh, I know it sounds really good that someone's about to give me $10 million cash, but does it tick all the boxes that I want to do, and have I achieved enough in the business to date to want to do that, or do I want to de-risk myself a little bit by selling into a bigger group, and maybe quite happy to stay involved in that process and own shares in the bigger group, but I have managed to de-risk a little bit, or it gives me a bit of flexibility about taking time off and all of
and that
those
might
things.
change as you age, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I know. For me personally, I mean, the reason I started a business, believe it or not, even though I'm a commercial lawyer, wasn't just to get wealthy. It was even though I'll do anything for money, because that's what I do. The reality is, what I wanted is freedom, and I wanted to be the best I could be. I wanted to do, I didn't want some boss at some big law firm telling me, what I could do to try and get a good outcome for the clients. I wanted to get a good outcome for the clients, in an unfettered way. I wanted to be the best lawyer I could be, right? Yep. And so if I sold my business tomorrow, that's inconsistent with those plans.
Yes.
I might get some money, but then what? How do I be the best I can be if I'm working for someone else because there's an earnout, or even if I walked away? I mean, what else would I do? I don't know. I'd be because I'd sign up to probably a restraint if I sold my business. So I wouldn't be able to work as a lawyer. I wouldn't be able to compete with that firm. If I sold the business, which makes sense. But if I couldn't compete, I'd have to take up golf and sailing and traveling and who knows what. I'd be lost, right? And
but
so
also
that
then comes back to the query that you've got this bigger piece of capital, ties back into your age as to what you want to do with your time, but all of a sudden you've also lost an element of social interaction. In the people that you work with, clients and your staff and the team around you, but also the income stream that was there enabled you to do a lot of other stuff. So it's this balance between, have you then got adequate capital outside of having sold the business to generate the income that you need to support the lifestyle choices that you kind of make. So it comes back to, what's the purpose of what you're wanting to do? And where do you want to go in your life? Like, what are the changes that you may want? And it may suit you being a business owner because you like that freedom to be able to make those decisions. And there's lots of people that have been business owners who could never ever be an employee again.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. A lot of my
they
clients, they
acknowledge
say,
that.
look, I couldn't get a job if I wanted to. You know, I'm
Yeah.
unemployable was the word that was used by actually my accountant said I'm unemployable. I just
Yeah.
can't do it. You can't, because I've been doing my own thing for so long that I just couldn't go in and do
Yeah.
something else. But I think you're right about the money. Like that, you might sell your business for a headline figure that sounds really good. That's lots of cash, isn't that exciting? And you might get it in one chunk or in a couple of chunks over a bit of time. And but you need actually, especially if you're on the younger side of things, and you don't have other assets, which you might not if you're younger. You need a lot of cash to live for the rest of your life if that's your plan. I mean, you might sell your business and want to go and start another business immediately, and maybe in a different area or maybe in the same area, and if you're as long as you're allowed to on the terms of the sale, and that might be all fine if that's your plan. And we've seen some serious people start businesses, sell them, start them, sell them, start them, sell them, or buy them, build them up, sell them, buy them, build them up, sell them. That's all fine.
They're good. They're good at the start phase.
That's their thing.
They get it to a level and they go, oh, I'm not good. I need a management team in there. I'll move on to the next deal. They get bored.
Yeah, and that's very self-aware of them because sometimes starting a business is a different challenge than running a mature business or growing a business. They're different stages of business life. But you've got to kind of be aware of all of that. And I think like if I was to sell my business as a relative in the younger side of things, I hope still on the younger spectrum. Yeah. Actually, on that, I used to meet with clients and I used to always be the youngest person in the room, and that is no longer happening. And I do not like it. A lot of my clients are younger than me, and I don't care for that.
There's a bit more of the silver fox coming through. That's what we
yeah, exactly.
The years of maturity.
So, but you'd need to sell your business for a lot of money, really, to fund the rest of your life if that's your plan. Although, as I said, I think that's a weird plan to retire completely. This idea of retiring early doesn't appeal to me at all. I think.
Well, I'm with you. It's not, and I don't look at retirement. I look at it as a transition of doing things differently.
Yeah.
Like it's what, and again, it comes back to what's the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. Like, are you in a position that you want to just stop work? Like, I find that an odd. If you've worked for many years in growing a business, and that I suppose the exception is some of the technology businesses all of a sudden they're out there for 4 or 5 years and they get sold for a huge figure and people kind of move on.
And you're selling them for 100 million.
That's very much the exception and not the rule. But generally people have worked at a business that they've enjoyed or they've got, and that, they enjoy it. It's the people and it's, they have a sense of purpose and community and all those things. And if all of a sudden someone takes that away from you and you haven't thought through what it is that you're going to do, it's actually quite frightening.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, a lot of people being
mental health perspective. It's like, because when I went to the business or I went to see customers, I was valued.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I sell my business. Well, Alex is no longer this Taurus legal services. He's just Alex Martin now, another, but before
just another schmo.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? That's a really difficult thing for people to get their head around.
Yeah.
So just because someone is offering you, it's a bit like saying, right, if someone walked and knocked on your door and they said, we want to buy your house.
Yeah.
Would you sell it?
Yeah, well, for enough money you would, most people say.
Yeah, but maybe, but then it's like, but then I've got to find somewhere else to live and I don't want to, and I'm not sure what I really want to live. I like the area. I know the people around
and the kids
me
are in school down the road.
All
and
those
all that.
issues, and it's no different than looking at your business. Just because someone's offered to purchase it, that doesn't mean that it's the right decision to make. But it's certainly that.
Yeah, we find a lot of the time someone offers to buy a business. If you do a few tweaks to the business, then you can get a lot more value. I mean, at the very minimum, you spend maybe 12 months, running the business as if you're about to sell it, and that might mean a whole bunch of changes to make the business more, the financials look healthier, I suppose, or be healthier. Then you can get a lot. When someone just knocks on your door and says, "Can I buy it? Here's the cash." Then you're probably reasonably likely to get more money if you make a few changes to the business and have some competitive tension in the process and all of that at the very least.
Yeah. Well, we would say normally it's 3 to 5 years that you would work your way through preparing a business for sale. Making sure stuff's documented. You look at all the accounts, and every business runs expenses through their business. And you kind of cut back on that and you really let the business function on its own. And
Yeah.
how can you
Yeah.
function without some of the key,
Yeah.
the primary owner? If
Yeah.
they're not there, does the business still function and perform? And all
Yeah.
of those things, it then says, well, it makes it much easier to sell, because someone can come in and go, well, actually, Alex, I don't need you in the business anymore. Great, you can still be involved, and it might be a 3-month transition just to
Yeah.
hand a few things over, but actually you haven't been here really actively for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. You might be adding some value or whatever, but you're not necessary.
You're still the figurehead
Yeah.
of the business,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're not driving it. You've got a management team in place, and all of these
Yeah.
scenarios, and it's your transition can be so much better, and it's a far more
Yeah.
valuable business than having
Yeah.
the individual that sits there. So
And
it's
actually,
always interesting.
a big mistake I think a lot of our clients have on that, or a lot of our clients have made, is that they've started that process, the 3 to 5 year process, when they're over it.
Yes.
So they're over the business, they want out, and maybe they want to just transition into being a property, a real estate owner or landlord, whatever, or they want out completely, and so that now they've got 3 to 5 years of hard slog ahead of them to transition the business, which is actually really hard work, and often new systems and all
Well,
this
it's
stuff.
very
And
emotional
they're not
too.
up to it.
No.
Yeah, yeah. So if you are, I mean, if that exiting the business is something you want to plan ahead and think, okay, well, where do I want to be in 5 years? And if possibly out of the business, you want to start planning for that now, not trying to do a fire sale or trying to get the business ready in a hurry, or you're going to undervalue it. So that's about knowing the future.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's also, one is the determining of the future of where you want to take it, but there's also an argument that you would say, what do you want to do with the business? So you might say, I want to be out in 5 years' time. So you're very proactive around that. There's 2 paths to take on that in some respects, or there's 3. One, you build it in a way that it's very systemized and you're no longer as active in the business and you've got a very good management team, so much easier to sell. The other way is that you drive it as hard as you can, but you strip as much out of it as you possibly can over that 5-year period to build the assets outside of the business. So therefore it's not required. And you may sell, but you might sell on, 1 times turnover versus 10 times. So but you've basically fleeced, cleaned it out in the way that you wanted to. Or the third option is you run it for as hard as you can for the next 5 years, dragging as much cash as you possibly can, and then you make the call that just says 31 December 2030, we're done. You just shut the doors.
Yeah, and that's actually people seem to be against that, but that can be a very good plan, particularly for small businesses, small professional services business, health. But if you're a GP, that might be a good thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's not, just because someone offers to purchase your business, it depends on where you're going and the path that you're going to take down that. So there's nothing wrong with running a business and stripping as much cash out of it as you can to build an asset outside of the business.
Yes.
And
then you don't need the business anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
It served its purposes to generate cash flow for you.
Yeah.
And therefore you go, you know what? Even if you might decide to cut it back 3 days a week, depending on the sort of business that it is, or you may bring someone in, but you can kind of, chop and change, and you can kind of make.
Or you might give it away, right? You might, and I've seen this. I think that's a lovely thing that you can pass it on to the up and comers in the business for little or no payment.
Correct.
So because you as a reward for them for working hard and supporting you, and you don't need the cash anymore because you've got assets elsewhere. So you can, and then there's this legacy, this lovely legacy. You can pass it on, and I know, say for me, that's an attractive option. The clients keep getting looked after. The team keeps getting, earning income, and there's this kind of this firm that goes on, this service firm, that looks after people, that continues after you retire and after you're gone, which is kind of a nice idea, although probably it'll morph into something you're not happy with.
Yeah, well, but part of it then is, just because someone approaches you to buy your business, would you sell it?
Yeah.
The answer is always got to be, people always say, of course I would if the price is right. Okay, so what's the price? I haven't really thought about that.
Lots.
Yeah, but lots is what? So lots is $1 million or $10 million.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, how much capital do I need when I stop work? Well, that kind of depends upon your personal circumstances of debt position and what your cash flow requirements are. Again, some person it's $1 million, someone else is 10 million, because they're just because of their personal requirements. So I think that's a really interesting one that we can kind of look at and say to people, if that's there. But to me, let's be proactive, move
Yeah.
forward, and work around what is it that I want to deal with. Because at 55, do I want to be here in 10 years' time?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 10 years' time, because you look back on the previous 10 years, and you go, oh,
Yeah.
wow, they've just disappeared. Well, how much faster do you think the next 10 years are going to change?
Yeah.
And all the technological changes that are occurring. I mean, look at
Yeah.
the last 2 years over the pandemic. I mean, that's changed so many different ways of businesses that they need to be operating and functioning,
Yeah.
and all of those
Yeah.
issues. I mean, those sorts of things are not going away. It'll be something else next time.
Yeah, well, I wonder with the pandemic, everyone's had these tree changes or sea changes or whatever, and I think at least some of them are going to get out to wherever that they've moved and go, I hate it out here.
Yeah.
It's really isolated. I'm
Yeah.
miles from my friends and
Yeah.
from my family, and it takes me ages to get to the shops or whatever.
Yep.
And I like the view of the ocean out my window or whatever I've got. But after a while, you don't even notice that anymore.
Yep.
And you do notice the really long commute to the shops to buy some milk or whatever.
Yep.
So I think sometimes you think, oh, I want to be out of the business in 10 years. Which sounds like a good idea. I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, I want to retire early. I want to make lots of money, retire early. It's going to be great. But then as I've sort of thought about that more, reflected on it, I thought, well, hang on, retiring early, what the hell would I do?
Yeah.
And I do what I do mainly because I like it, and I feel useful.
Yep.
And, if I'm 75, I hope to be working till I'm 85,
Yep.
and being useful.
Well, it's mentally stimulating too.
Yeah.
And you get the opportunity to talk to people like me.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, that bit's not that
There you go.
stimulating.
There's a highlight for the day.
It just makes me feel really smart. Well, I mean, some of my clients are really good friends, and they're, or if not friends, so we have beers on the weekend. They're friends in that I love to hear about what they've been up to, and they're people who I really respect and admire. They've achieved great things, and I've helped them achieve things and helped them through different challenges in life and all of that. That's very satisfying. And to give all of that away, I mean, in order to play golf or do something, I think I'd just feel, I think that'd be awful.
Well, but, which again, it comes back to what's the purpose and the direction that you're going in. That will then help make a decision. But and it's always great for the ego that someone would come and approach you and say, we'd like to buy your business.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great.
And I mean, you hear about all these news stories, people sell their businesses for squillions, but I can tell you, in practice, it doesn't happen very often. When people sell their businesses, they normally sell them for sensible prices that obviously help you build your wealth and stuff, but not people are very rarely selling their businesses for sort of 200 million. They're selling their businesses for in the millions, and those millions may or may not be enough to support their life goals depending on their other assets. So.
All right. So the key for the topic, if you were approached to sell your business, would you? To me, the key is one. There's a couple of things. Are you financially and personally in the mind space to deal with that?
Yeah.
2, what would you do with your time?
Yeah.
And is it the right decision? Is it something that you're working towards? And is today the right time, or is it a decision that you would prefer to occur? And are you actively working towards that in the years to come?
Yeah, and I'd say those decisions, you've got to think about them carefully, because I think you I know I have in the past jumped to conclusions about them. You say, oh, retiring early for selling my business for lots of money sounds great. You're like, well, hang on, let's just think that through. Is that really what, you could have 5 years after you've retired, you got nothing to do, you're bored, and you feel depressed. You know what I mean? You could really
you've lost connection with the people that you've had previously. That's sort of the reconnecting to that space. What do you do with a bit of that? And you've lost all your contacts. And now you might decide to run into another business, which a lot of people do. But even still, there's a risk involved in running another business. Yeah,
and if you're doing it later in life, you've got a whole bunch of different, financial commitments and personal commitments. Maybe you don't have the time, maybe you don't have the energy, maybe you don't have the nous because the technology's changed. Who knows what? Starting a business again, just because you did it once before, doing it again does not guarantee that you'll be successful. You're not young and hungry and whatever that you were before. So
a bit like the financial, markets analogy. Past performance is no indicator of future performance.
Well, that's right.
One successful business doesn't mean that it will automatically transpose to the next. But if your lessons learnt off the first business can be applied to the second, you've probably got a higher chance of being successful.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Alex.
Great talking to you,
Once
Dave.
again, magnificent dulcet tones of Alex Martin and all the hoo-ha that we go around with. All right, we'll
All
catch
right.
up on the next one.
All right. Thanks,
See ya.
everyone. See you later.